For those of you that don't follow the Colorado Buffaloes, and I don't blame you, I know they're very, very overhyped, but Deion Sanders has done a wonderful job over there. He took the worst program in all of college football and transformed them into a 9-4 team. Legitimately, the Buffaloes were one win away from going to the championship in their conference, whereas 2 seasons ago before Deion got there, they won one game. They were giving up about 40 points a game, literally. So Dion would be perfect for the Raiders for a lot of reasons. For one, you bring in Deion Sanders, free agents are going to start flocking towards the Raiders. This Las Vegas team is currently ranked number 2 in terms of offseason assets, which means salary cap, draft capital, of course, just opportunity for players. The Raiders are number 2, which means that they have a chance to turn this around overnight. And I don't care what anyone says. You can literally hate the Raiders. You can love the Raiders like me. If they make this move, they will completely change around their franchise and they'll go from a team that, again, couldn't even win 5 games to a team that is going to compete for a playoff spot. The Chiefs certainly will win the division more than likely again, but in terms of just getting into the playoffs, I think the Raiders have the chance to do that, man. I really, really do. It might take 2, 3, 4 seasons to turn into a Super Bowl contender, but in terms of just competing for 10 wins, I think the Raiders are going to be able to do that because, again, they have the 6th pick in the draft. They have the second most effective cap space behind New England at just over 86 million. Shador Sanders, I know a lot of you guys aren't going to like it, and I'm not even hating you for it. We all have got our own opinion on who the quarterback should be, but I don't think the Raiders should just go out there and hand Sam Darnold a bunch of money, even Justin Fields. I don't think that's the answer because does that set your franchise forward? I don't think so, right? But with a 6th pick, the Raiders have an opportunity to do their research and to get their guy. And I get that, yeah, bringing in Shador Sanders, bringing in Deion Sanders, it just seems like exactly what those two would want. But this is huge for the Raiders because, again, Colorado, they won 9 games, guys. They were expected to be literally at the bottom of their conference, and they were at the top. They were literally the 3rd best team in their conference. And if Colorado had just beaten Kansas, they would have won an opportunity to go to the, of course, Big 12 championship. And then if they win that, they're certainly going into the college football playoff. So the reason they were in there, in that situation, is because of Deion Sanders' recruitment, the way he coached. Of course, he's old school, physical type of coach. He loves the little things, and he's going to hold players accountable, even his own son. A guy like Max Crosby, his future seems a little bit uncertain. He is the PFP, the profile picture of my channel. Max Crosby is my favorite player on this team, and it's not even close. I mean, why not just go out there and get a guy who certainly is going to want to make Max stay? Just because he knows that, hey, like Deion Sanders has played football at the highest level. He's been a great coach, of course. Every team he's went to, he's made better, every program. And now, of course, he wants to come to the NFL. I mean, the thing about Deion Sanders is that he wants to be in Las Vegas. He wants to be a Raider, of course. He wants to coach this team. It just hasn't been reciprocated yet. And Pete Carroll, although I do think, obviously, he's more what am I looking for, guys? He has the resume that Deion doesn't in terms of coaching. Like Pete Carroll has coached for nearly 20 years. He's 73 years old. There hasn't been anything that Pete Carroll hasn't seen. And absolutely, he wanted to throw the ball literally on the 1 yard line instead of hand it off to prime Marshawn Lynch. But he still has won a Super Bowl. And the Raiders, they do need somebody who's won a Super Bowl or somebody who, of course, has played football at the highest level that guys are going to pay attention to. This division is brutal. The Broncos have a franchise star quarterback. They made the playoffs. The Kansas City Chiefs have a superstar quarterback and have won Super Bowls. They made the playoffs. And then you look at the Chargers. They've got a star quarterback in Justin Herbert, and they made the playoffs. The Las Vegas Raiders, they don't even know who their quarterback's going to be. They don't know who their head coach is going to be. They don't know who their GM is going to be. So there's a lot of question marks right now surrounding this franchise. But what they can do is go out there and bring in Deion Sanders, hit on their free agency picks, and then in the draft, to that point, Shador is basically a lock. Like Shador is a lock if Deion comes in, which is good news because I watched every single game Shador has played, of course, the past couple of the seasons, and he does have a lot of work to do, but it's all coachable. It's literally all coachable, like holding onto the ball too long, trying to make something out of nothing. But in terms of just accuracy, athleticism, durability, toughness, strength, grit, grind, That's Shador Sanders. He is literally built to play quarterback for the Las Vegas Raiders, and he gives you a chance to be able to compete with anyone in this division. The last team that beat the Chiefs, well, actually the Broncos beat them, beat their backups, and then the Bills beat them. But the last team to beat, fine, the last team to beat the Chiefs at home in Arrowhead Stadium was Aiden O'Connell and the Las Vegas Raiders. So you got to keep that in mind here. The Raiders have done it. They've had the blueprint. They've had the formula defensively, be physical, get after Mahomes, make it tough. But where this starts is the head coach and then the quarterback and then go from there, right? So you want to put as much talent as you can around your quarterback. And if you want to do that, well, bringing in a rookie certainly will help because he's on a rookie contract versus Sam Darnold, who would probably get $40 million a year. And yeah, the Darnold coming in, obviously the Raiders are going to be projected to be a better team because Shador hasn't even played a snap in college football. But I just don't see how Darnold elevates this franchise and moves it forward. I just really don't. I hope the Raiders don't bring him in. I mean, I really don't. I'm just tired of these quarterbacks, man. I'm tired of Gardner Minshew, and I'm looking at Jimmy Garoppolo. Of course, when Derek Carr ended up going to the Saints, it's just a Band-Aid fix. It's a Band-Aid fix. And Antonio Pierce did a lot of things wrong, but one thing he did right was that he didn't want to Band-Aid at quarterback, and that's exactly what he got from Tom Telesco. The team got Brock Bowers. They tried to trade up for Michael Penix, and they failed. So now they've got to make up for it, and they've got to go out there, and they've got to get a young player with promise, with upside. And Shador, a lot of people I don't think know his potential, man. I mean, this guy makes unbelievable throws. He's calm under pressure. He's got the athleticism to be able to pick up first downs with his legs. He's extremely accurate, and he just makes guys around him better. And I think the Raiders would benefit a ton off of bringing in Shador Sanders. And if you bring in Shador Sanders, you might as well bring on Deion Sanders. And all of a sudden, you've got a team that is going to be very, very competitive, but also very, very box office. Everyone is going to be wanting to watch the Raiders. And I know the Raiders are already a big market. It's Las Vegas, for crying out loud, man. I mean, man, if you want to have fun, you go to Las Vegas. But we're talking about just winning football games, like people wanting to watch the Raiders because they're competitive. And I just hope the Raiders do this. I know a lot of people are going to comment and disagree with me, and I get it, man. I really do get it. But at the same time, I've seen it happen. It's been college football, but I've seen it happen at Jackson State, and then I've seen it happen at Colorado, of course, in Boulder. I mean, this is just not a team that's box office. It's a team that was competitive that went 9-4. Like the Buffs went from they went from a 1-win team to a 4-win team, and of course, you look at the games that they lost. Literally, I think all but was it 2 of them were by 8 or less by 1 score, and then from there on, they win 9 games in a conference where they were expected to be at the bottom, and they proved everyone wrong, man. And literally, it came down to the last season where they could have made the Big 12 championship. So I think the Raiders would be a huge, really beneficiary from Deion Sanders. And I'm not saying that the Raiders need to bring in Deion and then they need to draft Shador. Like they could bring in Deion and then just do something else at quarterback. Like maybe it's Jalen Milroe in the second round, or maybe it is Justin Fields. I don't know, but I don't know if necessarily bringing in Pete Carroll, who's 73 years old, would be better than Deion Sanders. I don't. I really don't. I think from maybe just a few certain standpoints it would be, but just overall, I'd rather have Deion than it would Pete Carroll. But there hasn't been any interest from the Raiders, to my knowledge, for Deion. But Deion has interest in the Raiders, so we'll see what happens. But yeah, I'm out, guys. Peace.